Sonic Colors is a game developed by Sonic Team and published by SEGA in 2010. It's a fast-paced platformer with creative settings, interesting mechanics, and very delightful visuals. While Unleashed played a big role in setting the future of the series, I'd say Colors was what really solidified where the series was headed, as it adopted a lot of Unleashed's favorite aspects and introduced new things which would live in the series up until now. It was the first game to have Roger Craig Smith, who'd become Sonic's voice actor till this very day. It also introduced the Wisps, little aliens that provide who they trust with special powers. These guys are like a staple at this point, seeing them return in every 3D mainline Sonic game that followed. Sonic Generations, Lost World, where they were pretty freaking useless, and Forces. They were even used as power-ups in Team Sonic Racing. Still saddens me how quickly this game died out. While views on it changed as time went on, Colors is still a big part in the Sonic series and played a major role in setting the series' direction. Let me give you a quick history lesson so we can catch up to the video's main topic. Here's a timestamp to the review if you're already familiar with Sonic's history. Sonic Unleashed released in 2008. It was the next mainline Sonic game, and it was still during the time Sonic Team was experimenting with the gameplay. It introduced two things, the daytime and nighttime stages. The Warthog was playable in the nighttime stages, which were slower paced and the gameplay focused more on platforming and combat. The daytime ones had a regular old Speedy Boy Hedgehog Sonic. However, the gameplay took a massive turn. The boost, which first debuted in Sonic Rush, was used in 3D for the first time. The daytime stages had a whole different style from the nighttime ones, let alone the games before. The games before had more depth in the level design, with open spaces filled with obstacles that required you to use your momentum and moveset to get through them. The boost formula is too fast for open space platforming, so it's better to go for a more linear and straightforward approach. Now, this isn't the bad kind of change, as I don't mean linear in the boring automated sense. What I mean is that the boost formula works more in hallways than in open spaces. The gameplay focuses more on running in hallways and dodging. There is still a lot of attention and skill required from the player to be able to go through the stages. Unlike some games. Unleashed utilized the boost formula beautifully, albeit the movement's kinda slippery. The stages are well designed, and the devs know how to make the game engaging and not take control from the player. They were without a doubt fun stages. Most players enjoyed the daytime stages a lot more than the nighttime ones, as they didn't find the slower, combat-focused stages as entertaining. Which is bullshit! Like, come on, people! I still think they're very fun! Well, this gets kinda annoying, not gonna lie. But they were still fun nonetheless. The boost formula seemed like a great turning point. Something hype and enjoyable. It sticks to Sonic's fast roots. Next year, Sonic and the Black Knight released, introducing yet another whole game gimmick, the Sword. And much like Secret Rings, it wasn't that well received. Finally, Sonic Team knew what to do for the next mainline Sonic game. They took the receptions of fans and critics to the previous games into account, and decided to apply them for the next mainline entry. They saw that the fans really liked the daytime stages in Unleashed, and that they wanted the next game to entirely follow that same format. The fans also didn't want any gimmicks throughout the game, none of that store player or warehouse stuff, just normal Sonic. Another thing was that Sonic should be the only playable character, which is pretty ironic since the fans are now complaining about Sonic being the only playable character. I've always wanted there to be different playable characters, so that change isn't really something I like. Seriously, what's with this fanbase? Sonic Unleashed was a massive turning point for the series. That's because Sonic Team did go with the boost formula for the next game's entirety. The gameplay style for Sonic has yet again changed. This time though, it ain't no one-time change. Okay, so the gameplay is set. Next, Sonic Team wanted to appeal the series to a broader audience, more namely kids, while also satisfying the core fans. So what's the best way to approach this? Well, the Wii was a major success at the time. Everyone and their mother had a Wii. You'd go to any family and you'd find a Wii lying under their TV. They also wanted to expand upon the success of the Mario and Sonic at the Olympics series at the time, so they wanted to make the game enjoyable to Mario fans as well. Which, come on, these are two opposite sides of the spectrum. You're going for an audience that's interested in a series that's nothing like Sonic, but sure. The Wii attracted the audience Sega and Sonic Team were aiming for, so it was a no-brainer to release the next game there. They also got Dimps to work on a DS version to attract even more of that audience. And of course, releasing a game exclusively for one console is cheaper than making it a multi-platform game. Sonic Team started working on Sonic Colors in 2008, following Unleashed completion. They wanted the game to take place in an amusement park, but Sonic's adventures wouldn't fit in just a regular old park. So why not make it into one that takes place in space? An interstellar amusement park. That concept gave the team the freedom to make very creative stages, such as a world made of sweets, a carnival of ships that glow with colorful lights, a roller coaster around asteroids. They had the chance to make something great, and they grasped it tightly. Like the fans wanted, Sonic Team didn't include any gimmick that the gameplay relied on heavily. They also made Sonic the only playable character. None of his friends or alternative forms alongside him. But this is kinda boring. The stages will feel shallow and repetitive. Thus, the Wisps were added. As I said, these little guys provide you with special powers for a brief amount of time, as to not interrupt your flow and engagement with the game. They're also quite fun to use. They were Sonic Team's solution to listening to what the fans wanted while also keeping the gameplay fresh and interesting. And so, by November of 2010, Sonic Colors launched and finally became playable to the public. The game did very well, and so many people loved it. Core fans, kids, and casual gamers alike. SEGA and Sonic Team definitely achieved what they aimed for with this game. The next year, Sonic Generations launched, also following the Boost formula, and had classic Sonic in the mix. The game was also another hit. After that, it was a pretty bumpy ride, since SEGA and Sonic Team kept trying to attract different audiences again. They went back to that experimental phase, causing yet another inconsistency between the games, which is kinda bruh. Sonic Team decided to go back with the Boost formula with Forces, but the stages weren't properly designed around it like the previous games, and instead were very automated and boring stages. That, alongside many other aspects, caused the game to flop hard, as you may already know. From 2017 up until the time of making this video, we still didn't get a new mainline Sonic game released. We got Sonic Frontiers announced, which I'm really hyped for, but it ain't out yet. These are all the games that launched after Forces, all spin-offs. We've yet to get a new mainline game. Around April of 2021, leaks of a Sonic Colors remaster titled Sonic Colors Ultimate, which was set to release on all modern hardware, started circulating. Then, on May of the same year, the Sonic YouTube channel hosted Sonic Central, a stream where they announced lots of upcoming Sonic content and collaborations. The leaks were actually true, and among all these announcements, the Sonic Colors remaster was announced. Can you guess what the title was? Yup, yeah, guessed it! Sonic Colors Ultimate! Yeah, feel the ultimate experience! I was screaming out of hype over the announcement. There were so many cool things being announced during the stream, and they were all very exciting. Anyway, Sonic Colors Ultimate was announced to release as a part of Sonic's 30th anniversary celebration on September 7th, 2021, on Xbox One, Series X/S, PS4, Switch, and PC. It's stupid that there is no dedicated PS5 version and that you have to rely on the PS5's backward compatibility, but as all of us know, game devs are weird sometimes. Oh, and the PC version is exclusive to Epic as of right now. Check the meme that I made because of that. Moving on, it isn't a new mainline Sonic game, but it's a remaster of a mainline game, so it's definitely bigger than a spin-off. Now, many people were asking, why choose to remaster Sonic Colors out of all the games in the series? Well, the answer is quite simple. Sonic games are still aimed towards kids until now, and Colors was a wide success that attracted that same demographic, while also being enjoyed by the core fans. Also, the game was only on the Wii. There's a DS version, but the main version is on the Wii, you get the point. So it was a golden chance to make the game more accessible to those who didn't have the original game. It was the perfect game to remaster over others in the series, both from a fan service and business perspective. Blind Squirrel Games was the team hired for this remaster. Why choose them over any other team? Most of the remasters were for shooters. Why did SEGA choose to hire a team that's irrelevant to platformers, let alone SEGA games, to develop a remaster for their mascot? Well, that's a little unsettling. But you know what? I won't judge too fast. Who knows? Maybe they'll do a great job. We'll only be sure once the game comes out. Back on track. The trailers promise that it'll come with a high resolution, improved graphics and visuals, remixed soundtracks, and new in-game features. It seemed like this would be the ultimate way to play Sonic Colors, and I was really looking forward to it, especially because it was going to run natively on all modern hardware. Sonic Colors Ultimate released on September 7th, 2021, just as planned. September 4th if you pre-purchased the Digital Deluxe Edition, which, of course I did. I was really excited to replay Sonic Colors, this time with modern hardware with all the improvements the remaster promised. So how was the game? Is it the ultimate way to play Sonic Colors like Iizuka-san planned? Well, let's get to the review and find out. Just a quick note before we start, this review is solely based on my personal experience with the PC version. All the opinions I will mention are based on my personal thoughts on the game alone, and that'll be the case if I review other games in the future. If you disagree with any thoughts I share here, good for you. Stick with your opinions. I'm not attacking anyone for their thoughts here, so let's not start any heat in the comment section. Man, the fact that I have to say this before making a Sonic review. Sonic Colors Ultimate was a pretty hard game to finalize my thoughts on. Don't get me wrong, I had loads of fun with the game, but it definitely comes with its issues. A lot of them, in fact. However, after a lot of deep thinking and revising, and deep contemplation on whether I should even make this video because it's been 3 months since the game released, I have finally finalized Damn it! I have finally finalized my thoughts and was able to come to a conclusion as to what I think about this game. First, let us look through all its aspects. The plot is the exact same as the original. Eggman opens up his own amusement park in space, called Eggman's Incredible Interstellar Amusement Park, which he says is an apology for all his misdeeds in the past. Sonic and Tails go check it out to see if there's anything sus about it. I mean, it's Eggman, come on. Nothing seems wrong at first glance, until they find out about Eggman's main plan. Abducting small aliens called Wisps to convert them into Nega Wisps, to then use their power, Hyper Go-On, in order to charge up a mind-controlled cannon that he disguises the elevator to his amusement park to capture Sonic's planet. I assume Mobius? Look, I don't know. Mobius is barely directly mentioned by its name in the game as far as I know. Anyway, he plans to turn that planet into the star attraction of his amusement park. That bastard! He was lying all along! Who would have guessed? We also learned that Eggman is holding the planets in place while collecting countless wisps thanks to 5 generators that are hidden on the planets. Obviously,
that's no good.
And now Sonic has to rescue the captured wisps, spoil Eggman's evil scheme, and save the day as always. Sonic starts his adventure, allying with the wisps to use their powers in order to reach and turn off all the generators. After all the generators have been powered off, the planets are set free. But it was already too late, as the cannon got enough charge during the story, but Eggman was ready to fire it. Is that it? Is hope over? Psych! It's a Sonic game, what did you expect? Eggman never succeeds. If we go back earlier in the game, after Sonic defeats the first boss in Tropical Resort, you see that the boss's arm got lodged into the cannon and damaged it, which caused the Hyper Go-On stored in it to leak out. After Eggman fired it, the cannon exploded, causing all the negative Hyper Go-On to scatter around and form a black hole. Sonic, Tails, and the Wisps notice that shit's not right, so the Wisps ditch the party, and Sonic and Tails rush to escape the park. Eggman acknowledges his failure, but goes on to use the Mega Wisp, a robot that he created and powers with Hyper Go-On, to crush Sonic and not allow him to escape. Sonic, of course, dominates the battle and defeats Eggman, who gets devoured by the growing black hole that already sucked in and destroyed Tropical Resort. Sonic runs for his life as the hole grows closer, just before the Wisps gather to barely save him and carry him back down to his planet. That's it! Eggman's amusement park has been destroyed, the Wisps got set free, and everyone's back home. Except for Eggman, who is stuck in the black hole until Generations explains what happens later. Anyway, the world's been saved yet again by Sonic and Tails. Another quick note before we proceed, all this was in the original colors, so this part of the review is a review of the original story that Ultimate also includes. Thought I'd mention that so that people don't go out and point fingers in the wrong direction. Blind Squirrel aren't the ones to blame for the story in Ultimate. And even so, don't ever just go and throw hate and disrespect towards the writers. They still have their respected pieces of work. The plot is really nice, and the concept as a whole is great. The problem's in the writing though, which is different from the games before colors, since this is when Sonic Team hired new writers Ken Pontac and Warren Graff for the series. They'd continue writing for the mainline games up until Force. These writers' style has become notorious among the fan base. You just can't take the story seriously when, in every cutscene, the characters just keep on being sarcastic or make absolutely cringy and annoying jokes.
It seems an evil man, and you might know him, who they call Baldy Nosehair.
Baldy Nosehair!
Having lighthearted, goofy moments and jokes in Sonic stories is fine, but when that's literally 99% of the story, you just can't take the game seriously when it tries to be serious. Take something like the adventure games or Unleashed, for example. There are moments that are funny, and times when the characters would say something cocky, but the story still had their serious moments, or even dark at times.
Sonic!
My admirable adversary. Now we have
So it's good to have goofier moments in these games, but when they just take the majority of the story, especially when these moments are completely unnecessary or unfunny, it just becomes annoying and the story becomes uninteresting. Sonic is the cocky type. He acted cool and confidently in a lot of situations and made jokes too, but that isn't all what he does. They just made Sonic like the annoying class clown type of character that always cracks cringy jokes no matter the situation. They even ruined Tails, making him the overly nerdy boy that always talks about his adventures or how smart he is. Apparently Pontac and Graff are no longer writing for the games, as an article from Polygon states that Ian Flynn, the writer for the comics, is going to be leading the writing for the upcoming Sonic Frontiers. And with all due respect to Pontac and Graff, I'm honestly glad they made that change. The writing may be good in other things, but just not Sonic. Don't even get me started on the writing for Lost World and Forces. They can definitely make good things. Happy Tree Friends is fantastic, but I just don't think their writing is well suited for Sonic. There has to be a balance between the serious, lighthearted, and goofy moments, and you have to stay true to the character's personality. Sonic used to make cocky and confident remarks, as well as some jokes, but he was also serious and had that kind of caring vibe. He was actually cool. And when you make him this absolute idiot that just throws dumb jokes every second he's on screen, you can't take him seriously at all, or the game for that matter. This issue isn't exclusive to Colors, as I mentioned, and it's gone for a long time in the games. So I hope that this balance between tones and proper execution of characters is what we see get done in Frontiers. Now let's get to the changes Ultimate offers. Let's start with the most important thing when it comes to remasters: graphical upgrades. When it comes to the core game and its plot, remasters don't really change anything. That's usually for remakes. Remasters enhance older games, oftentimes visually, to make them fit more to today's standards and optimize them to run on modern hardware. Sonic Colors Ultimate promised enhanced graphics and visuals, so let's see what that's like. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of how the game looks here. It just looks off in many aspects. For example, stages like Starlight Carnival became way brighter than they should be, and others like Tropical Resort became way darker than they should be. Sonic's model reflects too much light, and so many objects and enemies give off that pretty weird glow. It just doesn't look that good in my opinion. I have no clue what Blind Squirrel was going for when it came to the lighting, but god, they exaggerated it. They could have went for a lighting like that of Generations, where the lighting is more relaxed and the models aren't as reflective. Now that I think about it, that would look beautiful. Look how fan-made mods make the game look on an emulator. If fan-made mods can make a game look this good on an emulator, then why can't an official team, let alone one that previously worked on other modern remasters, make a game that runs on devices natively look like that or even better? Now, I wouldn't say that I despise how the game looks or that it looks disgusting, but the extreme bloom of lighting just take away from the beauty of the game and make the colors not feel so right. See what I did there? It didn't bother me that much during gameplay. I still enjoyed the game a whole lot, but I'm just saying that there are other stuff with better visual execution than Ultimate. To be fair, while the majority of the game looks weird with that lighting, some sections look fine, good even. The new models and textures look amazing, and the enhanced resolution definitely makes these improvements pop out and look beautiful. I won't deny that Planet Wisp and Aquarium Park look gorgeous, and I personally think they're the best remastered stages. Like, come on, this looks so good! There are some visual errors though. Stuff like objects popping into existence from distance, and other stuff like the water effect showing in the overworld and the lack of effects on the wisps compared to the original. While not game-breaking, they definitely don't look good and drain from the remaster's quality as a whole. And these issues I just mentioned are found throughout the whole game. It's not like the lighting where it looks bad in some parts but good in others. Look at this. It's just so... ugh. Like seriously, there's no effect or animation, what the heck? These aren't glitches either. That's just how the remaster looks. Speaking of which, I personally didn't notice any visual glitches while playing the PC version. But if we're gonna talk about the Switch version, oh god. Oh lord. That's dreadful. Yeah, the game was in the Switch version. Thankfully they did release an early patch on a lot of the visual glitches, especially the seizure-inducing ones in the Switch version. But god was it awful at launch. Well, I don't even get how they allowed the game to be out while it was in such a state. They did patch some visual oddities and glitches, but there are still some that remain, and the game would definitely benefit from patches that fix them. So good on you, Blind Squirrel, for fixing the major problems, and I really hope they keep fixing the game and patch other issues that are still in it as of the time of making this video, be it glitch or not. People complain about the cutscenes in Ultimate being upscaled. If you don't know what that means, it's basically that the devs took the original game's cutscenes and increased the amount of pixels that render in order to increase, or in other words, upscale the resolution without the video looking rough or blurry. Personally though, that doesn't really bother me, since remasters don't particularly revamp cutscenes all the time. They usually upscale them too. At least that's as far as I know. I haven't really seen any remasters that revamp the cutscenes or reanimate them from scratch. The cutscenes still look pretty good in Ultimate, and I like the enhanced res. Only thing that's weird is that, since it's the original game's cutscenes, the lighting and effects don't match those of Ultimate, but that ain't no big deal really. Apparently the files for the cutscenes, such as the scenes, models, and whatnot, are still in the game's files. Maybe they were planning on revamping the cutscenes in some way, but ended up not doing so. At this point is where I do wonder, if you were given the resources to revamp the cutscenes, then why not do it? Probably to cut costs, but this is a game for a AAA company's mascot, they should've just cheap out on it. Okay, the upscaled cutscenes look great compared to the original. But if you had the models and stages and everything, you could've just used the improved models and applied the new textures and effects, which shouldn't be a challenge for an official team. Actually, never mind, the new effects are weird. I don't want to be blinded by the bloom. But the new models and textures are nice, so it would have been cool if they at least remade the cutscenes using them. As you can see, the remaster's visual quality isn't the best that it could have been, and isn't really what any fan expected a modern gen remaster to look like. However, there is something I can say Ultimate did so well, and that's the soundtrack. Of course, Sonic never missed with music. Wait, no, we don't talk about that! Ultimate comes with remix versions of pre-existing soundtracks, as well as some new ones. In the original, you'd have a distinct mix of the first 3 acts of a stage, and you'd have the same ones in the last 3 acts. But in Ultimate, each of the 6 acts per stage has its own distinct version, the first 3 acts having the remixes, and the last 3 having the originals. except for Tropical Resort, which has Acts 1, 2, and 4 remixed, while the rest are with the original versions. I personally love the new remixes and think they sound amazing. Just take a listen to this! Juno no Tani totally killed it. It's kind of a shitty move how Planet Wisp's remixes are locked behind a paywall though. They were some of the best ones. One thing that I found annoying about Colors Ultimate is its lack of accessibility options. For a remaster that includes many changes to graphics, gameplay, and soundtrack, it would have been nice if they allowed the players to customize or toggle things according to their own preferences. Although I love the remixes and think they sound phenomenal, not everyone thinks the same way, and some prefer the original tracks. So it sucks that you can't toggle between the original and remix soundtracks. When I checked the settings menu for the first time, I was so underwhelmed by the limited amount of options that are in it. You can't change anything in the gameplay, you can't change anything in the video, apart from the resolution and VSync, and in the audio section, the music and sound effects volumes are merged into one option. At least you can remap the controls. That change isn't necessarily good, at least not for everybody. Some people like the changes that Ultimate has, but others don't. I sure don't like some and wish I had more control over what I can change in the settings. Like, why can't we change some graphical aspects such as shadow quality or bloom intensity? Why aren't the music and sound effects volumes separate? The game would really benefit from quality of life upgrades and accessibility options like these. You may be asking why I'm so upset over the music and sound effects volumes being one option. That's because the sound design is just awful. Not many things bother me in my playthroughs of games, as I don't let most things, especially if they're small, ruin my experience. But this was the one thing that bothered me so much during my playthrough of Ultimate. It is definitely my biggest complaint as of the time of making this video. The mixing isn't great, and some sound effects are louder or quieter than others. Some just cover up the music for a solid amount of time because of how loud they are, and the direction of the audio is just super weird. The audio isn't synced or mixed properly, and it is so irritating. I just don't like hearing something come from the wrong direction. I keep wondering how stuff like that went through the testing phase, but sure, Blind Squirrel, sure. Sometimes the audio would glitch out and some sound effects wouldn't even play. Even the Wisp's music and Rival Rush Start jingle would not play sometimes. All these things are in-game breaking, and they're pretty minor issues if you take them individually. But here's the thing, if you take them individually, all these things together are just a massive blow to the game's quality as a remaster. And it doesn't help that they're so obvious to spot. I'm not even nitpicking about small things like how this animation after finishing a race looks so janky, how Sonic doesn't jump out of acts at the end like how he's supposed to, how he awkwardly appears in Starlight Carnival Act 3, simply because they're too small to ruin anyone's experience, so they're too small to mention. But they exist. It's just so many small things that, when put together as a whole, they all just drain the game from its quality that it should have as a remaster and make it feel like a lackluster lazy port rather than a proper modern gen remaster. But hope's not over. That's because the game got a few updates after release that patched some bugs and fixed many of the quality issues I mentioned earlier. The graphics and visuals are still the same, but the audio has been totally fixed. They fixed audio glitches such as when some sounds wouldn't play, or when some sound effects would come from the wrong direction. Although the music and sound effect volumes are still one option, everything now sounds properly mixed and synced. They also added some accessibility options, one of which is being able to toggle between the original and remix tracks. Congratulations, fans of the old tracks. Though they fixed some problems, some still exist, and it would definitely be better if they're gone. But I'm really glad that the team is listening to fan complaints and are fixing what they can to make the game better. I don't see the graphics and lighting being fixed in the future, and I believe they're destined to stay the way they are. But I hope that they'll at least continue to patch other issues with an Ultimate. Well, the quality in Ultimate isn't really the best, but what about its gameplay? Well, with Sonic Colors, I don't know what you were expecting. In terms of controls and physics, nothing was changed. It's all pretty much the same as the original. The movement is nice and solid, and definitely isn't slippery like Unleash or too stiff like Forces. Sonic Colors controlled really nicely, so I'm glad that they didn't change anything when it came to that part of the gameplay. Though one major issue when it comes to the gameplay is definitely the extreme blur that appears whenever you boost. When you go this fast, of course, your surroundings will get blurred. It's been like that ever since the boost appeared in 3D. However, it was never this blurry. The blur is so extreme that you can barely see the stage. And more importantly, you can see barely any obstacles ahead, especially in 2D sections, so it's quite annoying to deal with. The original game's blur was just fine. I don't know why they decided to crank it up so much here instead of keeping it the same like how they did with the rest of the gameplay. I just hope they come around toning it down in a future patch. In a recent update, one of the other accessibility options that they added is being able to turn off the blur. Instead of toning it down in the game itself or giving the player the ability to decrease it, you just take it all out of the equation. I'm glad they added that option nonetheless. The extreme blur can be hindering sometimes. I didn't really encounter many bugs or glitches during my experience with the game. They were minor, nothing to ruin your fun. I only encountered one glitch that soft-locked me with a Spike's Wisp, and the game only crashed on me once. So to me, the issues I encountered weren't anything that had spoiled my experience. The game's still fully playable, and I genuinely enjoyed playing the game till the end, and even 100%ing it. Ultimate didn't change much in the stages. Some have been slightly tweaked for reasons that I'll mention soon in the video. But overall, they're basically the same as the original Wii game. So again, this part of the review is more over the original colors than Ultimate. The settings chosen for these stages are also amazing and creative. The idea of the game taking place in an interstellar park gave the devs an opportunity to make extraordinarily unique and fascinating places for the park. Well, they're creative, but how's their level design? As I said, Colors follows the same formula as Unleashed. It has levels that are more straightforward and speedy and require more reaction time than platforming, at least for the 3D areas, which takes me to the next point. The stages in Colors are great, but I don't think their execution was as good as the ones in Unleashed. Unleashed had a fair division between the 3D and 2D sections, but Colors has a lot more 2D sections. Most of its acts are full 2D even. The 3D sections don't get as much attention and just feel short-lived. In Unleashed, both the 3D and 2D sections were fast, and had so many obstacles and actions to do. You'd constantly have to pay attention to jump, drift, slide, attack, and blast your way to victory. But in Colors, it just isn't as interesting. You don't have to be that attentive to make your way through stages, they aren't as challenging. Don't get me wrong, the stages in Colors are not bad, far from that. I'm just saying that their execution isn't as great as what came right before it. Most of Colors is 2D platforming with sort of a blocky level design. I swear they look like they were made in a level editor. It feels like the 3D sections just got the short end of the stick here, since they're way less and shorter than the 2D ones. The 2D sections are fun, but still, it's a 3D Sonic game. It shouldn't be filled with this many 2D sections over 3D ones in my opinion. While the stages are pretty easy, the Wisps add a great twist to the gameplay. There are a lot of obstacles that require you to use them to get across, and they're really fun and interesting. I like how some sections are designed around them, they're cleverly made and well done too. Much like Sonic's movement, the Wisps wasn't changed at all in Ultimate, which is good, because their movement was already good. Their simple powers like hovering, shooting across, clinging onto surfaces, but they're very fun to use. Their simplicity is their positive, alongside their brief usage time, as they are meant to be a fun mechanic that keeps the game interesting without getting in the way of your flow. I'd say they're really well executed, and I really like them. I don't mind them returning in future games like they did, as long as they're used properly. Now for the bosses. Yeah, I don't like them. They're so painfully easy, man! You could literally beat 4 of them in 2 hits! 4 out of the 6 boss fights are in 2D, which I'd say is a little too much for, again, a 3D Sonic game. The main stages are fun and enjoyable experiences, but these bosses are plain out dumb. Cool ideas, but dumb fights. They feel like they have zero significance in the gameplay. Their only importance is literally for the story. They're guarding the generators. And it ain't like all the 6 are original either. No. There are 3 different kinds of bosses, and each get reused in 3 other stages, just with slight differences from the first version. The bosses are just boring and lazy in my opinion. They offer no challenge. Only challenge I faced was getting an S rank in Asteroid Coaster's boss, but the boss itself is super easy. Overall, the experience you'd get out of the stages in Colors is pretty good, but it isn't the best that Sonic could be with the boost formula. The game's quite easy and can be beaten in a fairly short amount of time, considering that the aspects that made Unleashed levels challenging were basically toned down by a lot in Colors. By the way, when I say Unleashed is challenging, I don't consider Crimson Carnival. I hate that stage with a burning passion. Sonic games should have some challenge, but not that way! As I already mentioned, Colors level design is something within the original Colors and has nothing to do with Ultimate. The menus are still really interesting. The stage select is still the good old menu where you have to move a cursor around to choose a planet. An Eggman then explains the one you're hovering over, just as if you're browsing through an actual amusement park. And the act select is just like the original. The other menus like the title screen and Game Land aren't really changed. They just added more color variations for Toy Sonic over here. They removed the save files, having you with only one save, which kinda sucks to be honest. Its theme is playable in the music menu. Am I missing something? One menu that got a complete overhaul is the option satellite. Originally, it had 4 categories. One for the general game settings, one to rewatch the cutscenes, one to edit your save file information, and one to check your stage records. In Ultimate, it's become 2. Player progress and settings. The settings menu is, obviously for the settings, such as controls, video, and audio, which we already talked about. And the player progress contains info of your progress, customization, your stage records, supersonic, extras, where you can play the cutscenes and music, and finally, achievements, which is something brand new to Sonic Colors. I like how everything is simple and neatly organized here. There is a bit of a lag every time you're talking between menus, but I guess it isn't something to fuss about. It is still a little irritating though, so I do hope it gets patched soon. What the heck causes it anyway? I guess it's just some loading issues. So far, we didn't really discuss any major additions this remaster offers. So what does it exactly add? After all, Sonic Colors is more than a decade old by now, so there's gotta be some new stuff to keep the game fresh. Well, there are some changes and additions, so let us discuss the main things. First off, they removed the life system. You now have infinite lives, and you'll always return to the last checkpoint. Unless you have a tail save, which activates whenever you fall into a pit and returns you to where you last were before falling. They replaced the life pickups from the original with tail saves and park tokens, which we'll talk more about in the next segment. I'm not a fan of this new feature. In fact, I hate it. I know they want to attract more kids to the series and focus on a younger demographic, but Colors was already super easy as is because it was originally aimed towards them. They're practically spoon-feeding the game to the player at this point. Might as well add a new feature where they can just skip the stage because little Timmy can't play Sonic and die many times. Don't give them ideas! The fact that they don't give an option to toggle the tail save off and use a life system instead makes it feel like they're ignoring the core fans that played the original game on the Wii. Remasters should appeal to both new and old fans of the game. You should aim to get new ones while keeping the old ones, not lose them. A cool feature that Ultimate adds is the customization. You collect park tokens, which are collectibles found in stages, and use them in the option satellite to purchase different gloves, shoes, and effects. You can also get profile icons with them, which is pretty cool. Though pretty useless since no one but you can really see the icon. There was meant to be a leaderboard system, and that's where I'm guessing others could see your profile, but it was scrapped for whatever reason. Maybe we'll get it in a future update. Nonetheless, it's a really nice thing that Sonic games have been giving the players the ability to customize, like in Forces, Team Sonic Racing, and now in Ultimate. It's great that we can change things up to our taste and enjoy the game with different effects and looks, but I feel like they didn't go all the way with this one. They made it feel like a big feature and a really cool thing, which it is, but it has so many missed opportunities. The gloves and shoes are just texture swaps, no cool accessories or designs on the model itself. There is so much more they could have done with it. Forces was amazing with the customization. You can change the character's color, make them wear a variety of tops, hats, glasses, shoes, and gloves. Why can't we have these with Sonic and Ultimate? Imagine being able to give Sonic his rider goggles and shoes, or Werehog gloves and shoes, or maybe the classic Sonic shoes, or the boom scarf and soap shoes. Sonic wore many things and appeared in many forms throughout his existence, so it would have been cool if we could equip them in the game. I love the idea and think it's great, but it feels wasted. There were so many opportunities in front of them and they could have done so much more with this feature. I wish they gave us more than just texture swaps and a few effects. More categories and options to choose from. I mean, hey, at least the icons are variable and abundant. The stages and colors are fun, but how do we add a new mode that'd make them more exciting? Enter Rival Rush mode, a mode where you race head-to-head with Metal Sonic and previously cleared acts. That's pretty cool! A mode where you race against one of Sonic's biggest rivals. But what if I tell you that it isn't as exciting as it sounds? This mode is nothing more than a lazy addition to pad the game. Why do I say that? Well, buckle up, because I've got lots to say about this feature. They made this mode seem like the biggest deal added to the game. Like, oh, we're gonna race against Metal Sonic, woo! But it's in just 6 acts of the game. You collect 15 red rings in each of the 6 stages to access only 1 act with Rival Rush. The mode is nothing special, he doesn't do anything to get in your way, and you can't do anything to slow him down. No added challenge at all. Would have made this more interesting if we had something like an SA2's battle mode, where you could use moves to attack your opponent mid-race or vice versa. It's basically just a fancied up ghost race with a barely functioning tracker. There's not even an explanation as to why Metal Sonic is here. It's just like, a sexy Metal Sonic is in your area, for some reason, and he wants to race, for some reason. Do you accept? Well, at least that's how it is for the consoles. On the PC version, it just jumps straight into the intro. Speaking of which, god damn, it's so lazy! It doesn't even fade in or bring some cool animation into the mix. Just pops in like a freaking sketchy ad. Bro, look what the fans can make!
Let's do it!
Look at how clean that is! Why can't an official dev team make something like that? It's a very small feature that only appears in 6 acts of the game. If they were original acts, then okay, that'd be a good and understandable amount. But they're reused, so why isn't it in other acts? I'm aware that there are some acts where a race wouldn't work, but there are so many other acts this mode could have worked in. But nah, ain't nobody got time to add a ghost race in more than a few acts. That'll take budget and effort. Now I may be nitpicking a little here, but the music for Rival Rush confuses me. It's really good, don't get me wrong. The problem isn't the music itself, it's how it's used. The instruments and style of the soundtrack in this mode are similar to Sweet Mountains, and it's the only song that plays in every race. Doesn't really bother me, no, but why? It's sort of a weird thing. Like, what led to that? They could have done other things, maybe like a remix of Stardust Speedway Bad Future. It feels like they put these features just for the sake of claiming that this remaster adds some new stuff, while these new stuff aren't even implemented in their full potential and just feel like lazy padding to the game. What I'm kinda salty about is that you don't even get Metal Sonic as a playable skin when you beat all the races. You only get the Dark Boost and Aura effects, which aren't related to Metal Sonic at all. I don't understand why these are the rewards. I think a better reward for beating all the races would be unlocking a playable Metal Sonic skin. Kinda like in Sonic Adventure when you get all the emblems. They just overlook all these obvious opportunities that would have added so much to the remaster and made it more interesting. I'm not gonna lie, the Rival Rush is my least favorite addition. I just despise it. It's the laziest and most boring addition to the game in my opinion. They added a feature that could have been amazing, but wasted all the opportunities that would have made it amazing. Well, so far these new features haven't been all that exciting. However, there is one new feature that was added to the game that's actually pretty good. Colors Ultimate adds the Jade Ghost Wisp, which debuted in Team Sonic Racing as a power-up that lets you face through other racers. In Colors Ultimate, it turns Sonic into a ghost that can float around and go through surfaces if any of these glowy things are around. This Wisp is actually pretty cool. It controls smoothly and feels good to move around with. It even has a really nice theme. What also surprised me is how natural it feels in the game among the original Wisps. I had the feeling that it would be out of place or underused compared to the other Wisps at first, but I was thankfully proven wrong here. As I said earlier, in Ultimate, the stages were tweaked a little bit. That was to add sections that only the Ghost Wisp can access by going through surfaces. You can also use it as an alternative method to reach other paths or obtain collectibles. The Wisp is also simple, brief, and fun, like the rest. It's not like Ghost was used in a few acts either. No, they've actually tweaked a fair number of acts for it. They used it in clever ways and made it a quick and fun power, making it feel natural with the rest of the Wisps and not some weird irrelevant addition to the game. The Ghost Wisp actually fulfilled its purpose as an addition to Ultimate. It's fun to use and kept the gameplay pretty fresh because of how natural it feels. I've been trashing on the features that were added in this game, but I gotta say, you did good on this one, Blind Squirrel. The gameplay for Colors is pretty solid, since it's basically the same as the original. The movement feels nice and tight and it feels good to control. The game's pretty easy, but fun nonetheless. The new features aren't anything crazy, but at least the Ghost Wisp, customization, and remix soundtrack keep the experience pretty fresh. The game may have not been the best visually, but it's definitely a really fun experience to play through. And finally, we've made it to the final part of the review. Overall, I think Colors Ultimate as a game is really good, but did it do a good job as a remaster? Not really. I wouldn't say it's the ultimate way to play Sonic Colors, but I wouldn't say it's a bad way either. I had a really fun experience with it, and I'm glad I get to play it on modern hardware. The game's fully playable and plays beautifully in my opinion. I haven't encountered any glitches as of the current version, but I can't guarantee that you wouldn't either, as they could just be random ones that pop out unexpectedly and I'm just lucky to not get any. Sonic Colors Ultimate was a pretty messy release, but they eventually patched most of the major issues, which is rare for a Sonic game, so props to them for that. That doesn't mean that game devs should release a sloppy game to fix it later though.
No.
They should work on a game as long as they need to, and release a full, proper experience for the players to enjoy, even if it means the game has to be delayed. I obviously ranted about a lot, but I wouldn't say they're anything major to ruin your fun in your playthrough. Some of the features may be lazy, but they don't take away anything. They just don't add much. The visuals may not be the best, but they didn't ruin my experience. I had lots of fun replaying Colors to Ultimate, and I wouldn't be too harsh on it. I enjoyed it for what it is, and I'm not too strict or picky when it comes to what I enjoy. I'm easy to please. But to be fair, for a big name company like SEGA, I'd expect better execution when it comes to a remaster for their mascots games. Colors Ultimate is a sloppy remaster. Hire a better team, work on the games more, make the games offer their full potential. I know it isn't cheap, but if so, it's better to just save that budget for a bigger game than to use some leftover budget to make something mediocre. There's a lot that could have been done to make Colors Ultimate better, but all in all, I personally had a really good time with it and found it really enjoyable despite its flaws. It's not the best in the series, but I wouldn't call it a bad game either. Thus, I'd give it a rating of 6.5 out of 10, a little above average. Extra points for the updates. Hello everybody, this is Molatino, and I want to thank you if you have reached this point of the video. It wasn't easy to make this review. It's my first review, so I was kind of catching on to many things and learning a lot of things in the way as well. And this video was supposed to come out a lot earlier than this, but a lot of things happened, and as I said, it's my first review. But this video took a lot of time and effort to make, so I really would appreciate if you guys drop a like or maybe even subscribe. You know, would make me really happy. I don't know if I'll be making more reviews in the future. Depends, I guess, on how things go. They definitely won't be as big as this one. Again, this one was the first one, so I was learning a lot of things and also testing a lot of things and going around seeing what's my style with these reviews and all. So they probably will not be this big because this was very time consuming and, you know, just too much for me to do every time I make a review. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day or night, and until next time.